What would happen to your family tomorrow if you didn't come home tonight? Not 5 years from now, not someday, tomorrow. Would your kids know what to do? Would your spouse have instant access to the money? Would the right person be making your medical decisions? Or would your family be stuck, confused, stressed, waiting on courts and paperwork while they're trying to grieve? Today we're talking about something most people avoid, estate planning, but not in a boring legal textbook way. We're talking about the real ways you can plan ahead and make sure that your plan actually works when your family needs it the most. Because here's the truth. Estate planning is important, but it's almost never urgent. There's always a reason to put it off. I'll do it after tax season. I'll do it after summer. Let's get through the holidays first. I need to talk to the kids. I'll look into it next year. And then next year becomes 5 years, and 5 years becomes a crisis. For most families, estate planning only becomes urgent when something scary happens. Either a diagnosis, a sudden death, a close call, or maybe it's the first time you take a trip without your kids and think, what would actually happen if something happened to us? And by then, decisions are rushed. Mistakes are made, and stress is sky high. The goal of today isn't to scare you, it's to educate you so you can make calm, smart decisions before life forces your hand. Some of you already have an estate plan, but maybe you're not totally sure how it works. Maybe you signed it years ago and haven't looked at it since. Maybe life has changed. A new house, a new baby, divorce or remarriage, new assets, and you're wondering if your documents still do what you think they do. Others of you have never planned at all. You know you should. You just don't know where to start. And that's exactly why this matters. By the end of this, you'll understand what is possible. You'll see the different strategies clearly. And you'll be able to look at your own life, your money, your family, your goals, and decide what makes the most sense for you. Not based on fear, not based on guesswork, but based on knowledge. And you're going to discover something important today. What you really want. It's not paperwork. You want planning. There's a big difference. Paperwork is a stack of documents with your name on them, and planning is a strategy that makes things simple, smooth, and protected for the people you love. You'll also see how you can control your future medical care, who makes decisions if you can't, what kind of care you receive, what actually happens at the end of life, and how putting those choices in writing now gives you total control later, no matter what happens. When this is done right, you don't just have documents, you have peace of mind. You know your family's protected, you know your wishes will be followed, and you know your assets won't turn into a legal mess. So let's walk through the first way to plan ahead for the rest of your life, the will-based plan. We call this the slide strategy. It includes the basic foundational tools, a last will and testament, a financial power of attorney, the healthcare or medical power of attorney with living will provisions, a HIPAA authorization. For some families, this is enough. It checks the boxes, it handles the basics, but for others, it's just a starting point. But here is why we call a will-based plan a slide. Picture this. At the top of a playground slide, you stack all of your assets, your house, your bank accounts, your investments, your personal property. And at the bottom of the slide are your beneficiaries. Hands are open, waiting. And your death is what pushes everything down the slide. It's all at once. There's no brakes, no conditions, no speed control. Everything transfers in one big motion. And that means you have to be okay with that reality, whether it happens either 30 years from now or tomorrow. Now here's something that surprises a lot of people. Your will doesn't control everything you own. In fact, for many families, it doesn't control most of their wealth. Think about your financial accounts or retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, brokerage accounts, life insurance, annuities, even bank accounts. These accounts often have something called a beneficiary designation, and that beneficiary form is a contract between you and the financial institution. It says, when I die, this asset goes to this person, and that contract overrides your will. All your beneficiary has to do is provide a death certificate, fill out some paperwork, prove who they are, and the money transfers. No will is needed, no probate for those assets. That sounds good, and in many cases, it is. But here's the catch. You can't add rules to a basic beneficiary designation. You cannot say, give it to Johnny, but only if he's 25. Give it to Susie, but she can only use it for college. Give it to Sam, but protect it from that spouse that we just don't trust. It's 100% outright. There are no conditions, no structure, no protection. So if your 18-year-old inherits $500,000 outright, it's their money immediately. If your child is struggling with addiction, that money is theirs immediately. If your beneficiary is going through a divorce, that money is exposed immediately. So with a will-based slide, you must be comfortable with the assets transferring all at once without built-in guardrails. And for some families, that's fine. For others, that keeps them up at night. Which brings us to the second strategy, the trust-based plan. We call this the bucket strategy. Instead of stacking everything on top of a slide, you place your assets inside a bucket, and that bucket is a revocable living trust. You still have a will, but it's now a pour-over will, and its job is simple. If there's anything left outside of the bucket, the will pours it over into the trust. It's a safety net, it's a backup, and the trust becomes the main driver. Now here's where it gets powerful. Inside this bucket, you can add rules, you can add structure, you can add protection. Instead of saying each child gets 1/3 outright, you can say they'll receive it in stages or they'll receive it at certain ages where it's held in trust for their lifetime. And if a child has a disability, then you can structure it so they don't lose those governmental benefits like SSI or Medicaid. If a child is young, then the trust manages the money until they're mature. And if a beneficiary struggles with spending, the trust can control distributions. You move it from all at once to an intentional control. And there's another huge benefit, probate avoidance. With a properly funded revocable trust, you don't have to open a probate case to transfer real estate. You don't have to wait on creditor claims to clear before selling any property. You don't have to file in multiple counties or even multiple states if you own property elsewhere. Instead of probate process, then the sale process, your heirs or beneficiaries can go straight to the sale process. So time is saved, stress is reduced, and privacy is protected. And here's something important. A revocable living trust, it's flexible. You can change it, you can modify it, you can update trustees, you can change your beneficiaries, you can add or remove assets. And as long as you're alive and competent, you're in control. For tax purposes, it's still you. No new tax return, no new tax ID while you're still living. And if you have a mortgage, the bank doesn't call it due. Because legally, for most practical purposes, it's still you. It's just a smarter structure. Now to really unlock the power of the trust, you update your beneficiary designations. And instead of naming your kids directly on financial accounts, you name your trust. Now when those accounts pay out, they flow into the bucket. And the bucket's rules control how and when your beneficiaries receive the money. And that's where we create real planning. Not just transfers, not just paperwork, but control, protection, structure, and peace of mind. So as you think about your own situation, ask yourself, if everything slid down the slide tomorrow, would I be comfortable with how it lands? Or would I rather have a bucket with guardrails, with rules, with protection, designed specifically for my family? You know, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. And the right plan depends on your assets, your family dynamics, your goals, your concerns. But at least now you understand the difference. And that's the first step towards making a smart, confident decision about the rest of your life.